What's going on, everyone? I'm Nathan, and you can find me on Twitter and on Magic Online as Great Nate. I have a deck that I'm excited to show you today. The list is by a guy named Jason Clark on legit MTG, and it's a list for my favorite deck in the modern format, Blue, White, Red, Geist. I've been playing a lot of Blue, White, Red, Kiki Jiki lately, so I feel really excited to get back to the deck that really is my favorite deck in the format. I just like casting Geist of St. Traft. So I want to talk a little bit about his list. First off, in the mana, he is running one Igandro Castle over a Hollowed Fountain, and I think that that's probably correct, considering that I think the mana base is stable enough, and I think 2 Sulfur Falls is right. Also, with a lot of cards like Anger of the Gods floating around, I think it's a good time to be running this land. He has the full set of Path to Exile, Lightning Bolt, and Lightning Helix, and that really kind of shows his build's commitment to Geist of St. Traft. He's running all of the ways at 1 and 2 mana that are available to the deck as removal spells. However, because the deck runs 4 Snapcaster Mages, this deck also has the ability to burn you out. And so running 4 Bolts and 4 Helix and 4 Path just kind of are committing to that. We're trying to kill you with Geist and then potentially finish you off with burn spells. Another couple of interesting things, he's running 4 Remands, but he's not running any Mana Leaks. I myself, I'm kind of unsure of that, but I'm definitely willing to give it a try. I guess I just feel like over the course of many matches, you may sometimes want a permanent answer to something. However, Remand is a really awesome spell, and one thing that it does in this deck that's really good is it sort of, if your opponent plays something on their turn 2 and you Remand it, and then you can untap and play Geist, you get a turn ahead. It's not exactly like playing Geist on turn 2, but you're better off because they kind of did nothing for their turn except play a land. So of course, he has the 4 Geist of St. Traft. He's also running an Ajani Vengeant. I myself had been testing and running Elspeth a lot, and after talking with Jason on Twitter a bit about it, I kind of have to agree with his assessment that while Elspeth's power level is higher, Ajani just has more applications in which he is good. He can hold down a Birthing Pod, for example. He can finish off an opponent if they're low on life. He can also act as additional removal for Geist. And if you have an opponent that's deploying lots of threats to the battlefield, you can play him and keep one of those creatures tapped. So he is probably, again, power level not as high as Elspeth, but I think there's more chances in which he will be good. The last card that I'm quite excited about is Stormbreath Dragon. I haven't played with Stormbreath Dragon yet. I've wanted to. And at first, I kind of felt like, well, Thundermaw Hellkite taps, taps other creatures. It kills 1/1 flyers. And, he comes in and he hits for more damage. And all those things are great, but sometimes with Stormbreath Dragon, you make this really large mana investment, and then they just Path to Exile it. And that always feels kind of bad, especially when you're really trying to kill them. And so I think that because Path is, so it's pretty pervasive in the modern format, I think that Stormbreath Dragon just is definitely worth testing at least. It's difficult for people to remove him. He doesn't die to Bold, he doesn't die to Helix, he doesn't die to Abrupt Decay, he doesn't die to Path, and those are probably the most commonly used removal spells. He does die to Dismember, but that's not that common. So yeah, I think I'm excited to play with him. In the sideboard, we have all the typical cards. I do like his choices. He runs 2 Wear Tear. I guess that most lists run 1. I guess he's running 2 because I think it's probably pretty decent against Splinter Twin, and obviously it's really good against Affinity. It's also good just good against a bunch of other just ancillary artifact and enchantment decks. He's got a Relic of Progenitus that's good for any deck that's interacting with the Graveguard, good against other control decks. It's good against Dredge. It's also good against Birthing Pod. Celestial Purge, that's probably primarily for Jund, but it does sort of have Jund, so you can kill Liliana. But it does have some other relevant targets. It can hit Pyromancer's Ascension, Goblin Electromancer. It can also hit Splinter Twin. It is a red permanent. And, there's just, it kills Fire Extending Obliterator. There's plenty of other applications for that card that make it, a good one of. Stony Silence is good. Obviously, it's great against Affinity. It's also probably worth bringing in against Birthing Pod. It's worth bringing in against Tron. You might be able to slow down their artifact activations to make their mana better or go find lands. Combust is really great in the control mirror because it kills Restoration Angel. It can kill Celestial Colonnade. But I've kind of found after testing with it that it's really kind of a beating against Twin because they may play like a Deceiver Exarch, untap, and intend to play Splinter Twin on it with some kind of counter magic backup. And when you combust it in response, there's really nothing they can do about it. Even Mind Sensor is great. I think even Mind Sensor is better in this deck than, say, something like Shadow of Doubt, simply because this deck is trying to kill you with creatures and burn. So being able to get that library Searching Denial on a body and then maybe have that body pressure their life total, I think is what this deck wants to be doing. You're going to bring that in against Birthing Pod, against Gape Shift, against any deck that's tutoring Tron. Threads of Disloyalty is good in the Jund matchup. And actually, I found that Threads is also not bad if you're facing a deck like the Soul Sisters deck, because it gets their Serra Ascendant, and it can also get a Johnny's Pride Mate. Counterflux is good against control decks, and also good against, obviously it's good against, potentially good against decks like Storm, but it's also just good when you need to bring in another answer just in the form of a reactive spell. Wrath of God is good in the Jund matchup. You probably go ahead and bring it in the Birthing Pod matchup as well. Obviously there's other decks where a Wrath effect is going to be valuable. Sowing Salt primarily for Tron. I know that some people like to bring Sowing Salt in the control mirror to get people's Celestial Colonnades. It's a move that I myself haven't done very often, but it's an option available to the deck. And then we have Hallowed Burial. I like Hallowed Burial. I've tested it myself. One of the things that I like about it is not only does it deal with all of Pod's Persist creatures, but it has a nice splash effect against Thrun the Last Troll, and it gets all of Boggle's creatures as well. And then we have a Batterskull. Batterskull's a great card. You really want to bring that in any matchup where you feel like it's going to be long and grindy, and you want to increase the quality of your top decks. So that's a quick overview of the deck. Let's play a couple of two-mans. It's already getting kind of late here for me, and I wanted to do a daily event today, but it was Father's Day, and it was my wife's birthday, and that just didn't work out. So I do want to get some games in with this list, and two-mans are what we can do, so let's do them.